Hello, my name is Jim, and this is your Daily Brogue for the 28th of August, 2021. Okay, so how deep a hole have I dug for myself? I'm not sure yet, so I'm going to try to go a little deeper. This is really the long way to talk about something. I mean, gotta be honest. So, in comparison to the conversations that I have in my head, right, which are fairly quick, it's really easy for me to convince myself of something. Strangely enough, and actually it's true for everyone, right? And this is part of the reason why I think that I have a lot of problems with some of these things that have been going on. You know, if you live in a bubble, then, and everybody agrees with you, you know, right from the start, then you end up, not really challenging yourself, right? So you'll remember Mark Blythe. Mark Blythe lives in a bubble called his own head, and so I was a little unkind to him, calling him he's not an economist, but he plays one on TV, so he pretends to be an economist, but he's a political scientist. And there are political scientists who play economists that I think are perfectly interesting, like Michael Munger. But there's the link. You know, I called him a fashion blogger economist, and part of the reason for that was the fashion bloggers that I somehow ended up hearing their economic theories, right? The world is bad because capitalism, right? Which is stupid. I mean, only an idiot says stuff like that. They basically think the same as Mark Blythe, and Mark Blythe hasn't ever been wrong about anything. And as I said, you can just ask him, right? And you know, I've talked about this a little bit before. In general, you don't learn anything unless you're wrong. Now, in some ways, right, this is in part based on my experience in physics, right? But I think this is a generally valid point. I'm not completely sure. You know, you have to be wrong at least twice. It takes you at least 3 times to get reasonably close to whatever it is you want to learn, right? If you want to learn something, you have to, okay. Visibility, is this, oh, that's a wand. I didn't find a fire immunity yet, have I? No, and I haven't found levitation. I think there's a key in there, I'm not sure. So we have to find some more. Look, there's an ice. It's a potion of descent, that won't help us. It's a nice potion. Yeah, you have to be wrong twice at least before you can be right. But if you know everything when you're 13, like Mark Blythe tells us he did, then you can never have been right. You'll never be right, right? You just don't have the background to be right. You need to fail before you can succeed. Otherwise, you didn't try anything worth succeeding at. Okay, found it. All right. Let's try that chainmail. All right, good. But in these situations where there's no external measure of correctness, right? So in science, there's an external measure of correctness, right? This is what makes science science. I don't like any of these. I do. These guys are all about equal, let's say, and I don't like these. I'd like something a little bit better. Any one of these being 3 would be better than this one being 3. It's really hard. So you only learn by failure, right? You can't learn by success. Now, of course, if you were Mark Blythe and you were born knowing everything, it doesn't matter, right? I think the same goes true. The same is true when they talk about echo chambers and things like that. That's sort of the problem that they're saying, is that there's no challenges. But it's not just that there's no challenges. There's no actual way to be right or wrong. The only right or wrong is agreeing or not agreeing with someone. That gets us to sort of the fake disciplines, the fake sciences, the pseudosciences, like sociology and anthropology and psychology. I mean, there are some gradations, some places in psychology that aren't so bad, but there are places in I can't think of any place in archaeology that's not crap, let's say, or in anthropology that's not crap, or in sociology that's not crap. It's all just crap. None of it's any better than social psychology, and social psychology is sort of embarrassing. Let's put it that way. I mean, so there's that whole replication crisis thing, and social psychology just ended up being completely useless. It's completely useless, right? It's say doesn't replicate, but the problem is you don't know, even if somebody's replicated something, you don't know if it's right. Well, and even if you do, if you fail in a replication and you do it again, you don't know, and you have one that you have a situation where you do replicate, right? There's an old paper I ran into when I worked at the National Institute of Standards and Technology. And I don't know where it came from. It was just sitting around somewhere. And it was old. It was by a guy at NIST, but it was an old paper. And it was saying, well, you know, there's an old story. Hallucination wonderful. Let's get rid of it. It's too deep for hallucinations. It was saying, well, statistically, that doesn't work, right? Best 2 out of 3 does not work as far as the statistics goes. So despite being a favorite of engineering students, it doesn't get you what you really want. There's the doesn't get you to the point where you can be certain it doesn't help you very much at all. Oh, crap. Let's take a chance. Crap. That's what I get. Now I'm going to have to start using those stupid scrolls. I don't know about the scrolls. This is not a good run. So you know, you can't trust anything the sociologists say, no matter, even though they have basically come together and said, we are the experts and you must listen to us. Now, I think it's really important to understand that their authority comes from themselves. It does not come from like physics. It does not come from a sort of engagement with the world, right? They do not have any scientific basis for what they say, right? And you say, well, obviously they do. They're a social science, right? No, they're a pseudoscience, right? You should be honest about that. They're pseudoscientific. They do not have any kind of basis in reality. And when I say this, I'm saying this from reading something by anthropologist or a sociologist, one of the two, named Jonathan Marks, and he wrote a book called, it's hard to remember, I got rid of it because it was so annoying, What It Means to Be 99% Chimpanzee. And that's not at all surprising what he said, which is absolutely nothing, right? Because, stuff, it's completely obvious. I mean, what he said didn't need to be said, because basically he said at the end, it doesn't mean anything. Well, no shit, right? So I'm glad that no, that wouldn't be. Rogue Death chain shirt. Let's call it Rogue Death chain shirt. And we can drop it over here. Okay, well, let's put N in that case. Okay, that's fine. But the thing that got me about that one, the thing that really annoyed me, was at the end of the book. Basically, Marx admitted that anthropology was not science. And he did so by making a statement something like this. So it is anthropology's job, or social sciences job, or sociology's job, I don't recall which. It doesn't matter. Those disciplines are pretty nebulous. They're not really distinct, except in their own mind. I wasn't able to do the clever thing, unfortunately. But, his point was, and I don't have any reason to feel that this is strange. In fact, I have every reason to believe that this is fairly common, that the point of anthropology, sociology, and so on is to protect people from the scientists, right? To protect their beliefs, no matter how wrong, from the scientists until the scientists can be nice enough that they actually understand how much damage they're causing by being so awful and wrong. And basically, I was younger. I don't even know what killed me. God damn it, I hate that. Should have dumped the enchantings into the axe. I thought about it, and I didn't do it. What a jerk. Okay, so the issue there is really that, and this I believe, this is what I've heard from them over and over from a lot of social scientists, is not really studying phenomena. They are, in a way, advocates. And as soon as you're an advocate, you're no longer a scientist. And as soon as you're no longer a scientist, you no longer have even that veneer that the that the taxonomy has of science, right? So now you have these guys who are all experts because they said they were experts, right? Remember, that's the reason why sociologists are experts about society, not because they do any science. They don't do any science. They don't know anything about societies. The only thing they know is that they're right, period. That is, and if you don't believe that they're right, just ask them. And, don't ever read any of their papers. Like I said, I've read their papers. They're shit, okay? They don't know what the fuck they're doing, period. They don't know what the fuck they're doing, and they're pretending that they have the right to tell us how to run society, right? That's what was happening right here. These guys have done no fucking work ever, period. I've read their fucking papers. They never did anything, all right? They're telling us how to run society. They should not be in the academy. Right? There shouldn't be a sociology department. There shouldn't be an anthropology department. There shouldn't be a psychology department because they haven't done any fucking work. They're no fucking different from a bunch of goddamn shamans running around cutting open pigeons and looking at their guts. That's who the fucking sociologists are. They're fucking idiots. All right. And I think they have the same view of probability that the shamans have as well, that it's God's talking to them. Because God's talked to sociologists. And so that's the second thing. And that is, the sociologists have no expertise about anything that has to do with public policy. Period. No matter how much they say they study it, they don't study it. They just talk to each other and tell themselves stories, which is exactly the opposite of science. They're fakes. They're not human.